de ses écarts. Ses yeux froissés sont en retard quand sonne l'heure de leur départ, ou d'un sourire ou d'un regard. Elle a corps ouvert au rire des adultes, à la caresse amère des amours passagers. Moi je l'ai tant aimé, tant aimé, que mon corps est pétri, parfum de sa vie. Moi je l'ai adoré, adoré.
Down
matin comme tous les autres.
Please everyone take their seats. Take pieces.
Yeah. Now?
Just say, everyone please take your seats. The event will be starting.
Are you queuing me or am I doing it?
No, you're on.
You're on.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please take your seats as the talks will begin very shortly.
welcome the group editor of the world's 50 best restaurants, Mr. William Drew.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to 50 Best Talks presented by Miele. This is a very special edition of 50 Best Talks, and we're delighted to be hosting today's event here in San Francisco at Dogpatch Studios. So for those of you who've come from far and wide, thank you so much for making the journey to join us in this incredible city. For those of you who are based here in the Bay Area, thank you so much for having us here. I'm William Drew, I'm the group editor of the world's 50 best restaurants, and I'm honored to be your MC for this afternoon's talks. The 50 Best Talks series is extremely important to us and to Miele and indeed to all our partners because it gives us the opportunity to provide a platform for wider discussion. Today is not about lists or awards, but about presenting fresh ideas, new perspectives, and advocating change, both within the restaurant industry and in broader cultural and social terms. Here's a quick taste of what 50 Best Talks is all about.
The restaurant isn't meant to be a temple. It's meant to be their happy place, a place where genuine human connection can take place. Fine dining is meant to be a conversation.
Just imagine, it's not that crazy still to imagine what if all of our children grew up eating, tasting, smelling. How would the future look like then?
Por primera vez en la historia, los niños y niñas quieren cocinar en casa. Esto es una revolución. De aquí 10 años vamos a ver cómo los niños hacen la cocina a los papás. Esto es brutal.
We are the revolution. We are part of the solution.
I think that one of the most important things is giving women a voice. Being pro-women shouldn't just be an accusation. It should be a reality.
Sostenible mejor, cuanto más sano mejor, cuanto más humano mejor, porque cocinar es cuidar. Gracias.
Thank you. The overarching theme of today's discussions is Voices for Change, with the subtitle Championing a Diverse Future. And there certainly feels no more appropriate setting than the city of San Francisco in which to hold such an event. Not only is the city and the Bay Area as a whole home to an incredible collection of brilliant restaurants and highly talented chefs, it also serves up an array of delicious produce, some of the world's great wines, of course, and a diversity of cuisines that is the match of any metropolis in the world. More than that, this city is historically a cradle of change, of innovation, inclusivity, of environmentalism, of sustainability, of food movements, technology, and of radical thinking. And we hope today's proceedings can contribute in its own small way to that rich tradition of dialogue and discussion. So we'd love you to socialize on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, whatever is your channel of choice, using the hashtag 50BestTalks. The Wi-Fi, by the way, if you need it here, is 50best with the password 50bestsf, as is written on the giant screen here. Now, we have some of the world's finest chefs and restaurateurs ready to share their wisdom and experience with you in a series of short, sharp presentations. And I'll introduce our lineup of luminaries in a few moments. But can I take the opportunity to direct you to this printed booklet here as well? This small but beautifully formed publication provides in more detail on each of our speakers and their projects, as well as providing plenty of scope for your own notes and questions, if you want to write in there. As well as further information on 50 Best Talks as a whole and on all of our partners from Miele to San Pellegrino, Estrella Damm, Open Table, Grana Padano, and Seedlip, and plenty more in here. So here's how things are going to work today. Each of the speakers, including one dynamic duo, will tackle their topics as outlined in this program. These topics range from biodiversity to human diversity, from challenging stereotypes and preconceptions to becoming agents of social change. So each presentation should take around 15 minutes or so, and after everyone has spoken, that's when we'd like a more open discussion, including questions from you guys in the audience. So please save up any questions, note them down in the book if you want, or on any of the specific points that are raised on stage here, or that you'd like to ask our panel about. We'll try to get to you in that period after the presentations. So after we're all talked out by around 4:30 or so, then we'll do what many of us do best, which is go eat and drink. There will be transport provided right outside here to take you up to Angler, the brand new, not even officially opened yet, seafood grill restaurant from the team behind Saison, one of the city's most famous and indeed one of the world's best restaurants. There we will feast and hopefully continue to discuss the important issues of the day in a more informal setting, possibly with a drink in our hand. So thank you in advance to Chef Josh Skenes, Mark Bright and the team at Angler for hosting us later. We much appreciate that. Okay, now let me welcome to the stage 6 incredible chefs and restaurateurs. So they're all going to come on at once. I'm going to list them and then give them a big round of applause. So let's hear it for Gaggan, Anand, Virgilio, Martínez, Dominique Crenn, Daniela Soto-Innes, Enrique Olvera, and Lara Gilmore.
Hey, you want these?
Settle in. Nice selection of hats on display as well today. Our first speaker is, we're going to crack on with our first speaker. Our first speaker is also the chef who has traveled the furthest, I believe, all the way from Bangkok, Thailand. His culinary career has seen him travel even more widely, starting in his native India, taking in Spain, Thailand, Japan, and more. His eponymous restaurant has been voted the best restaurant in Asia 4 years consecutively. So to talk about burning bridges across Asia, it's Gaggan.
Hi guys. Yeah. I chose bridges because I thought this is the city of the bridges. And every movie I saw, the bridges were destroyed by a Godzilla or something. So I thought that would be the best appropriate topic for my... The first bridge I burned was, I took the step for leaving my own home ground, my comfort zone, and I left India forever. And I went to Bangkok. And from then, destiny has laid a different life, which I live today. The video just shows us how domestically we in India eat with hands and how food is so great and how 1.3 billion people have food and nothing is fine. And how do I take this memory and how I convert them into a creative process for a 3-hour meal, which has become a kind of a culinary destination where in Thailand, 10 years back, they didn't even knew what was fine dining. And this is why I started doing this. Asian cuisine, I dare not teach you guys because you have great Asian food here, and it's such a, it's every street I go, you get, it's like a city. Like this is India, this is Pakistan, this is Arabic, this is Turkish kebabs, there's a whole Thai street. Everything is like incredibly well settled here. But I was talking to someone, and she said, "Hey, do you know best Thai food?" I said, "Where?" He says, "It's in San Francisco. I know this chef. He's amazing." I said, "That's amazing. Best Thai food is in San Francisco. That's amazing." Yeah. But have you been to Bangkok? No. The best Thai food is in San Francisco. Why do I go to Bangkok? Well, I couldn't answer that question, but that is what I'm here to tell you and give you this message that Asia has just begun. We in Asia, and do you know this, that we are crazy rich Asians? Yeah. We want our food before time. We want things to happen the way we want. And we are this third world appetite with a first world thinking. And suddenly the third world appetite behaves like first world. So we don't have social skills of being in a fine restaurant. We are loud, but well, I think New York is louder, but we always have our own domestic approach to food. And that is why in Gaggan, we change everything. What did we do? Now, if you see the menu, which I showed in the video, it's made of emojis. And finally, we are working with Apple, and in future, we'll have emojis, better emojis for food. I mean, not like only Japanese emojis choices, but we'll have better choices. And we made 25 courses, out of which 22 will be eaten by hands. And that is why in our restaurant, it's such a tough task to explain people that you have to eat with hands, and because they are in their best attire, they are looking good, and they want to eat a fine dining meal. But eating with hands, the complexity of it is so difficult because you have to create dishes that are supposed to be Indian, served in Bangkok, and supposed to be 50 best rated restaurant, and yet eaten by hand. So the cameras, the expensive foodie cameras suffer. Yeah, they suffer. And that's why I think 50 Best should work on a good camera also sponsor. So we make our food more appetizing, but we can't. Because in India, we don't have edible flowers on food. We don't have all that, so we can't do that. And that is why in our restaurant, dishes are going through a minimalistic approach, step by step. And I don't have any choice because I decided that my restaurant will have 22 courses eaten by hands. One of the dishes will be very provocative. And I like to intimidate people. And I also suffer this problem where people come to our restaurant for 3 hours travel across the planet. Any day you come to a restaurant, the people from Mexico, from America, from Europe, from Japan, from Asia, from China, everywhere. And these people, when they come to our restaurant, for 3 hours, they're on the phone. No conversation. What do I do? I mean, it's so irritating. They book the table on the Valentine's, okay, and they enter the restaurant. And when they enter the restaurant, the girlfriend was so pissed because the guy brought him to an Indian restaurant, so the flowers are already on the floor. Yeah, this used to happen like when we were not famous, but now we are like, now she kisses her. Yeah. You know how many couples went back without eating, having a fight on a Valentine? It was incredible. I got the money, but no food was served. Yeah. But then, this is the reality. And then on the Valentines, because my memory of Valentine is because I'm non-millennial, so my memory is create a pasta which is 7 meters long, and the girl and the guy starts eating it and they end up kissing. And I did that dish in my restaurant. Yeah, and the people were not kissing, they were on the WhatsApp. Yeah. And that's why I thought, in my restaurant, how do I make this as a disadvantage to an advantage? And I created emojis as a menu. So they would engage in the phone, but in a foodie way. And then I will not allow you to eat in your pace. You will be dumped with food every 4 minutes to 5 minutes. Yeah. So you have no choice just to eat, because you have come to eat. It's like a movie. When you go to a concert, you just see them changing the equipment, and no, you just go and listen to them. And food is the real hero, not the chef. We are the best orchestras. We can do what we want, but in the end, if the music is not good enough, we will never have customers. And my job today, I wear this not for sympathy, but I think it was something my mom said. She said, like, you're running a restaurant, and every time I become, like, I win the 50 Best Awards, I call my mom emotionally, Mom, I won it again. She says, again you won it? How did you win it again? Even my mom says that. I said, what are you like? Mom, I won it. I said, okay, but next time you won't win. Remember, you have to go down. You have to burn the bridge. Because you got to leave behind your success and move to better things in life. And that is why we, as chefs, are the biggest insecure people, like every celebrity in the world, every artist in the world. We want constant recognition in our life. And that is why we suffer this wrath of being criticized by foodies who've not even traveled enough to understand your food, who don't understand your culture. There's people who are coming and telling you, I love your curry. I'm from this guy, she's lady in Scotland. She makes the best chicken tikka masala. Don't you have chicken tikka masala? Well, I don't have. What do I do? My mom doesn't know how to cook it. And that is the wrath we have, this problem in Asia. But then, the foundations today we have, which we didn't have 10 years back, is laid that Asia is not about only Japanese cuisine, because we all love Japan, right? Okay, and I'm moving there too. So we have restaurants from all over Asia, and there's a new movement out there, which is, we are 30, 40 years late, but we are catching up fast. It's exactly like Olympics, it's exactly like music, it's exactly like everything else in today's world. That we've caught up late, but we are fast. And our only way here is that when you come to my restaurant, we'll ask you to do something. And for that, I'll show you a video. So please be prepared. When you come to my restaurant, you got to see this video and be prepared in your mind. Can I have the video, please?
So, lick it up, lick it up, lick it up, lick it up. Okay, ba? Ready, ba? Okay. 1, 2, 3. I think music is what I am as a person. It's life. I wanted to be a musician. I became a chef. I quit drumming and I took knife for the right reason. So even the name of Gaggan as restaurant and progressively Indian, the word progressive comes from music to my mind. I thought, I've done this for the last 7 years and I have few more years to go. So I thought, why not push the boundary of music? Because music is an expression of art, fun and madness. And we do the same with food. How do I combine this both? So one night, about a few months back, I was listening to the song Lick It Up by Kiss. And Lick It Up is the only like a food song.
Do practice licking up plates and see you in Bangkok. Thank you, guys.
I want to meet your plate. One day.
Thank you, Gaggan. I'm going to try and make these changeovers brief, and we're moving rapidly across the world and to a very different topic, I think, but from Asia to South America and Lima, Peru in particular, home to the next speaker's flagship restaurant, Central, multiple #1 in Latin America's 50 best restaurants. So Virgilio is a chef, a restaurateur, a research pioneer, recently opened another restaurant near Cusco, and he's here to talk about biodiversity, his Andean project and future works in the Amazon. Virgilio Martínez.
Thank you. Hello guys, how are you? Thank you, first of all. It's great to be in this city again, an amazing city, San Francisco. I'll be talking about mega diversity, discomfort, Peru, and time. To provoke, maybe to provide context, I really want you to be completely out of your comfort zones, which means that I want you to be in the Amazon and try a dish of piranhas that we are serving now in Central. This is totally out of your comfort. Or maybe try alpaca heart. We have a dish made with shavings of alpaca heart and milk of alpaca. Then you can try a dish that is coming from a perfect spheric cyanobacteria that you can find in the altitude of the mountains of Peru at 4,000 meters above sea level in the Cordillera de los Andes. We also can bring you to another place, which is the Pacific Ocean, where we have a whole experience where you can experience barnacles, razor clams, microalgae, seaweed, everything in one service. Or even you can go again back to the mountains, this time at 5,000 meters above sea level in the Altiplano in Puno, and you can try potatoes, perfectly, if you see, perfectly marble, purple, white, which we cooked in a watia oven in ashes of quinoa stems. So this discomfort might be the beginning of something pretty amazing. If you can see, many ingredients still to know. It might send you on a path to discover new things, to know more, to have a meaningful, to have meaningful experiences. Having that in mind, I'm gonna tell you what is Miele. Miele is our project that we're having in the Andes of Peru. At almost 4,000 meters above sea level, in the Cordillera de los Andes in Maras in Cusco. It's next to the archaeological complex of Moray, an engineering masterpiece designed by the Incas. If you see all these circular terraces, consisting in circular terraces with the idea of recreating the climate and conditions to adapt coastal and low altitude species to the highest mountains. This is our most complex concept that we opened a few months ago. It is a center where anthropology, culture, ecology, tradition, and cooking come together. And I must say, it has been our most challenging project, which started with us being completely out of our comfort zone, out in the Andes, closely connected to two indigenous communities that have become our closest link to the Andean world. Our research center, that one, Mater Iniciativa in Cusco, in the mountains, has taken 70% of the site. The other 30% is a restaurant where we only serve 30 people. In this site, we do research, artistic interpretation, identification, and experimentation with new findings. The results of Miele have been so incredibly rewarding for us as a team that we are thinking we will be applying the same method of immersing ourselves in a new world. Only this next time, it will be in the Amazon, the southeast Amazon of Peru. This is a photo of Tambopata in Madre de Dios, where we have a video. I want to show you the landscape of where we want to do our next project, similar to Miele. Have some volume?
La Amazonía para mí significa mucho, significa el Perú vivo en naturaleza, significa esta área desprotegida, desconocida. La Amazonía para mí también es un entendimiento de lo que podría ser nuestra relación con la naturaleza, vía las plantas, vía los animales. Mientras más uno explora, conoce, visita, se mueve, más te vas llenando de conocimiento. Y no solo a nivel de conocimiento, vamos a decir, científico o experimental, ¿no? Creo que también hay cierto nivel espiritual de conocimiento, ¿no? De sabiduría, que es la que estamos buscando. As much as I enjoy being away in the Andes or exploring the Amazon, my life as a cook happened mostly in Lima at Central. After 10 years of operating in the district of Miraflores, we moved to a better place, the artistic and cultural district of Barranco. It is now designed to grow the way we wanted. We have realized we are sending powerful message every service. We are showing biodiversity and presenting new places and new ingredients and their stories every day. Not only to the 40 people seated, but to a much larger audience. We understand we have the responsibility to make the right decisions and being aware of the impact we may cause. In this new location, matter has gained space and strength to inform all our decisions and make no mistakes. Matter has entered a new phase. Academic research and cultural projects are being done in Cusco and Lima by an interdisciplinary group of people that share our passion and encourage us to move forward. With such a diversity of knowledge, Pia, Pia is my wife, my chef, realized it was her time to put her own words on translating all we see, that's Pia, all we see in a different way. She just created Koye a month ago as a new platform for expressing biodiversity. Her style, her view, her team, her terms, hundreds of ingredients to work with. She has another story to tell, another narrative to share. So let's think for a minute, what if you still haven't tried your favorite food? I witness all the time how people start loving something the moment they try it for the first time. And its value grows, not only because the demand increases, but because it becomes something important for people who care for it. And so, when people approach to the uneasiness of ingesting something they have no reference in their minds, then I guess this is the basis form of learning. There is a mega diversity out there we know nothing about, and which we are losing every day. There is no time to waste. We should, at this point, not miss one detail. To finish, I must insist, just surrender to the possibility of not knowing, for it to be an experience of exploration that never ends. Thank you.
Gracias. Gracias, Virgilio. The next chef restaurateur may not have traveled as far as most of us to be here today, but she's a long way from her original home in France. Now established as one of the finest chefs in North America and the 2016 recipient of the possibly controversial World's Best Female Chef Award, no less. She's a campaigner, a poet, an activist, a brilliant cook, and hopefully today a disruptive voice for change. Ladies and gentlemen, Dominique Crenn.
Well, first of all, hello, and thank you so much for coming to San Francisco. I want to start this talk, which is going to be very short, and I just have one slide. It's this one. I don't have a movie. I don't have Kiss, but anyway, it's going to be very short. I want to talk about just 1 second. My heart goes to the people of the East Coast, especially North Carolina and South Carolina. There is a big hurricane called Florence that is on the path of destruction. So I just want you guys to take a second and maybe to pray for those people to be okay. Okay, 1 second. That's a big deal. Anyway, what I want to talk about it. I mean, I don't want to talk about my restaurant, my restaurants. We have 3 in San Francisco. I don't want to talk about food. I just want to talk about what we are today and who we are as people and as restaurateurs. For me, it's about caring for others, and it's about humanity and what can we do to change things in the world. So I have a very, very short talk, but less is more, so bear with me. And first of all, thank you again for being here. I have to wear my glasses because I'm blind. Okay. So humanity is the ultimate community. It encompasses the entire globe and stretches from beyond Europe, Asia, and North America. A restaurant no longer needs to be in a major city in order to make an impact globally. We need to look farther than the countrysides and metropoles that we know, and encourage those who dare to dream. No matter where they are in the world, we need to encourage an ethical kitchen anywhere and everywhere. Leading an ethical kitchen has nothing to do with the food you cook. We must acknowledge who we are, where we come from, and know strongly what we believe in. With the strong foundation, we can begin the process of building a culture that enables creativity and innovation, which is San Francisco, the best city in the world, which create and enable creativity and innovation. Bangkok and Mexico is great, but also, other God, I'm not as funny as Gaggan. God, you should be a comic, man. Everybody was laughing. It's amazing. Anyway, I guess you guys are laughing to me. That's amazing. Your identity is not located on your Instagram profile or Twitter feed. It runs through your veins and runs farther back than we can ever imagine. And this is a good message, It's not what you portray out there, who you are on Instagram. It's really who you are with the inside. So don't lie to the people. Just be who you are, and the people will come to you. It's not an easy process. There are always challenges along the way. But leading an ethical kitchen means that we are not afraid to communicate. Our employees must be seen, must be heard, and must not feel like a number. Only then can we create a safe space where problems are addressed as they arise, not once they have spilled all over the table or tabloids. To step back and face this problem may be very painful. Don't be scared. It's far too easy to run away. Like in a relationship, you get into a relationship, doesn't work out, you're scared, you run away. Just walk on it, don't be scared. Be the one to step up. Cover them up or silence those who speak up. We must encourage everyone to be their own voice, free and of influences. Don't apologize for your thoughts out of fear that you will be punished or hesitate to speak because you may be judged. In this ethical kitchen, we encourage perspective. This comes from not only listening, but placing value in each and every voices. Your attitude, not your aptitude, determines your altitude. That's what I said to my team every day. And this is true, you know, it's not how good you are, it's what you give to this world that will define you, who you are as a human. It's about supporting each individual to lead their own authentic life, even if it's drastically different than your own. Realizing that we are part of a chain, passing along knowledge and passion to those who interact with every day. If we can do something that inspires others to rise, then we can climb higher together. Everyone should be given the opportunity to rise and share their gift into this world. As humans, the potential is with each and every one of us. As leaders, we have the responsibility to breed diverse culture of respect in our kitchen and our dining room. Gone are the day of a militaristic monoculture that breeds fear. Let us move past labels, past lists. It's okay, the 50 list can still be alive.
Thank you.
And embrace the beautiful variety of life. I hope that you can take this message. I'm just inviting you to listen. And you don't have to be in a restaurant business. You can be, you know, owning your own company or just be in your own life. You are, and you have the power to change things. You own your own power. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominique. Always compelling, as always. So we couldn't have just one individual follow Dominique, so we opted to bring together two of the most powerful forces in Mexican food. Enrique Olvera is established as the leader of a generation that has truly revolutionized his country's cuisine, led by his Mexico City restaurant, Pujol. But then he recruited the amazingly talented Daniela Soto-Innes to work with him at his New York opening, Cosme, which has taken the world and the world's 50 best lists by storm. Now the duo are heading out here to the West Coast as well. Between them, they are genuinely breaking down walls surrounding Mexican food here in the US and all around the world. So please welcome Enrique Olvera and Daniela Soto-Innes.
Hey guys.
This is, can you hear me? Hola.
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 We're gonna try to sync, so bear with us a little bit.
How cool is it to be standing next to your mentor? I'm so happy. Well, Enrique and I have been working together for the past 6 years. We actually met in New York while I was doing a charcuterie class, and then we became really good friends because he was so happy. And then I went to Pujol for a weekend, ended up staying back and forth for a year and a half. And then when I said I'm ready to go to New York, he said, okay, we'll go. We'll open a restaurant there, and here are we.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was back 4 years ago. We were very successful in Mexico and decided we needed a new challenge. There's also many things that we didn't like about how Pujol was progressing, about ourselves, about how we were managing the team. And New York has presented a new opportunity to rethink how we approach the restaurant business. So one of the main differences is that there's not one chef, but actually two chefs. We like the idea of collaboration and having a more horizontal structure. So we don't like the pyramidal, classical European model. So we work as a team. There's two of us now, but there's a lot more people back in New York, all of them really important. Diana, our beverage director, Santiago Perez, our partner, an amazing individual. He doesn't get all the recognition he needs to get.
He's the best dancer we know.
Right,
Yeah.
by far. Well, no, the best dancer is probably Jesus, but anyways. Yeah, so we wanted to rethink and just have fun because we realized that a lot of us, when we're in this fine dining environment, we're really stressed, and you approach people and you see chefs not having a good time and not enjoying their day-to-day operations, and we decided we didn't want to do that. No, that it was not about getting somewhere, but actually enjoying the way. So we decided to be very Mexican. We changed how we do things. We decided to have fun in the kitchens. I think Cosme is actually one of the highest energy kitchens in the world. Daniela has a very nice routine.
You can't tell I have a lot of energy.
Yeah, she has like a yoga routine with all the cooks, which is kind of weird and crazy. But we wanted to share some pictures with you. So if you can play the little movie. These are pictures taken from Daniela's phone and my phone about how we open Cosme and
Don't
a little
judge.
bit about that. So if you can play that little movie.
Frank.
En un pueblo olvidado, no sé por qué, y en su danza el moreno me dejó ver.
En el pueblo lo llamaban Negro José, amigo Negro José.
Con mucho amor canturrea el Negro José, tiene el color de la noche sobre la piel.
That's our bar.
Canturreando dichoso él, amigo Negro José.
Perdóname si te digo, Negro José, eres diablo pero amigo, Negro José. Tu futuro va conmigo, Negro José.
Yo te digo porque sé.
¿Cómo?
Amigo Negro José.
Con mucho amor las mirabas cuando al bailar, y el tambor en esos ojos parece hablar.
Y su camisa endiablada lo hace saltar, amigo Negro José.
No tienes ninguna pena al parecer, pero las penas te sobran, Negro José.
En el baile es una cebra, lo sé muy bien, amigo Negro José.
Perdóname si te digo, Negro José, eres diablo pero amigo,
And that's our dining room.
Yeah, that's how we all started. Cosme
Yeah.
used to be a strip club, so it always had good energy.
I know. My first day, I moved to New York. I go into my first meeting, and Enrique tells me the address. I'm standing in front of the most famous strip club in New York, and I was like, no. But it has a great essence. It's really fun. I think the most important thing for us is to be extremely happy, and we're happy people.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. I think one of the barriers that a lot of people think about Mexican food, and they think about something that is too folkloric. Mexican restaurants haven't been able to change the perception, and I think this is what we wanted to do in Cosme, is show ourselves, not necessarily show the folkloric aspect of our culture, but we did want to keep very Mexican. So anybody that knows a Mexican knows we're great at partying, and I think part of the DNA of a Mexican restaurant is that it must be a happy place. And I think this is why Cosme is so special, because even though we keep the quality up and we're closet perfectionists, we still like to have fun and make sure that people want to come back to restaurants, because also we were talking the other day, when you come to San Francisco, for ourselves, we always go to the markets, and we like to go to the casual restaurants and see what's happening on the streets, and then you realize you have one of those restaurants that you never want to visit, right? So for us, Cosme is that opportunity of having a restaurant that is approachable, that you can really just go because it's Friday and you don't need, hopefully now it's kind of busy, but ideally it was not meant to be that way. And we also opened Atlas, so I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about Atlas.
At Cosme, we started with 4 cooks. Nobody really wanted to work in a Mexican restaurant. And we started with 100 covers, then 200, then 300, and still had 4 cooks. And we make it work. We're very happy people. Now a lot of people are more interested in Mexican food, and they're actually proud to be cooking it, which is amazing. And then we opened Atla because we wanted to go have breakfast. We wanted conchas, and we wanted chilaquiles and quesadillas, and we couldn't go anywhere, and Mexico City was 4 hours away. So we said, let's open a restaurant. And why not? Let's open it all day, because we also want a mezcal bar. So it ended up from being a little coffee shop with conchas and coffee to all-day cafe. And
we needed a place, because Cosme, in a way, it was ideally was not like more of a fine dining restaurant, and we always wanted to be part of the community in New York. I think you saw a couple of pictures of really good friends, the Franks, Carlito. They opened the doors to us, and this is very special. So we want to be part of the community. We don't want to be a Mexican restaurant that brings everything from Mexico, so we work with local producers, just as we do in Mexico. We are engaged with our community. Daniela does a lot of social programs in New York. I focus my time more in Mexico because my family lives there. But I think it works really nice, because it's kind of the same model that we have for all of our restaurants, that is to work locally, to be engaged with the circumstances, and now obviously with everything that has been happening here in the US and all the migration issues that are happening. I think that it's also very nice through food, because food migrates so easily. We're in Mexico, we're used to food migrating since the Spanish came. Then we had the trade route with Asia, so we know that food migrates easily. And I think it's a really easy and simple way of having that conversation on how migration is actually a good thing, not only for humans, but for food.
We get asked if we're authentic, and I think if you're authentic, you use whatever you have around yourself. So that's easier to open restaurants now. We just use the producers, the farmers that are around us, and we use our dry ingredients like the corn, the beans, and chiles. And from that, we can be authentic, real Mexicans, right? And we have fun doing it. I think that's the most important thing, no? Like always be happy and having a lot of fun while you're at work. And Lara will tell you. Osteria Francescana is like our second family. They're always there because we just want everyone to feel welcome. And like in Mexico, when you're at your house, you're always happy. And we want to do the same feeling for our restaurants.
Yeah, it's definitely part of the culture. The hospitality is central to what we do, and also having an authentic voice and having our own voice. I think that's what it's beautiful about our projects, that even though they're very Mexican, like I said, this is not stereotypical. We like to remain open-minded. We approach, now that we'll be opening Los Angeles, because here there's a lot of Asian influences and Latin influences in California. We're very excited to work here because in a way there's Mexican food from California. So we have Mexican food from New York now and Mexican food from Mexico. And that combination with different Asian countries, with what's happening with Japanese food in California and Korean food in California, I think it'll be a really interesting mix of what we can do in our menus. There's already many ideas.
And cooks are so excited.
Yes.
It's just so excited. It's
yeah, and the
actually
producers,
fun.
which are amazing here, you know,
Yes.
the products
Chino
are really
farms.
cool to work. So I think this is what we have to say.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you both for bringing the happiness to our stage. Now we've saved the world's best restaurant until last. Our final speaker is the co-owner of a certain Osteria Francescana and co-founded Food for Soul with her husband, the chef Massimo Bottura, hailing originally from here in the US, but now in many ways an Italian, could I say. She is not only Massimo's inspiration and muse, but a driving force in the pair's efforts to leverage their position and connections to engender social change and create a more ethical future. Please welcome Lara Gilmore.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wheel your stuff from head to toe. Do your stuff up on the floor. Do your stuff wherever you go. Do your stuff wherever you go. Come on, baby, do a chicken walk.
Okay. I have tons of notes because I have a million things to say. I don't want to forget anything. Here we go. How lucky are we today to hear these stories, to be here, amazing people, colleagues, friends, inspirations. I feel very lucky to be among them. So I want to talk about two projects that happen quite unexpectedly, two projects that happen when we stepped out of our kitchen and stepped into our communities. The first one is called Tortellante, and Tortellante is an unusual combination between special needs teenagers and retired pasta makers. The second project is Food for Soul, and it's a nonprofit that Massimo and I started 2016. And it's dealing with the dual issue of fighting food waste and social isolation through opening community kitchens that work with beauty, light, art, and creating delicious meals for those in need. The thing about both projects is that we've learned that food can be a powerful tool for change. Tortellini. Tortellini is the answer that my husband will give you if you ask him, what are you going to take on a deserted island? Tortellini, as I have learned, is the answer to many things. Tortellini are handmade egg pasta. There's a filling with prosciutto, mortadella, Parmigiano cheese. It's a traditional recipe. Families keep their recipes going from generation to generation. Rarely do they get out of the family crest. And every family holds on to that recipe very dearly. But no matter how good a restaurant's tortellini will be, a real Modenese will say, they're pretty good, but they're not quite as good as my grandmother's. More than a food, they are a religion. And if you don't believe in God, you can always believe in tortellini. But making tortellini isn't a solitary act. Actually, it's a communal one. Tortellini are always made by a group of people, as many as you can, around the largest table in the house. There are technical reasons for this. When you roll out the dough, the tortellini have to be cut, the filling put on them, and folded as quickly as possibly, otherwise the dough will dry out. Another reason, technical, the more people there are around the table, the more tortellini there will be. But there's also an emotional reason, because there's nothing like a tortellini circle for catching up on gossip. 3 years ago, a friend of ours approached us with an idea. She said, "Do you think we could teach special needs teens to make tortellini? From making the pasta dough, to the filling, to folding the tortellini." Our son, Charlie, at the time, is 14 years old, and he has special needs. And this question struck me to my soul. One, I had never taught him to make tortellini. And two, how amazing would that be? But I wasn't the best one to teach him how to make tortellini. I'm certainly not Modenese. Who could be the teachers? Who could be the best teachers for these young boys? So we thought about it, and we thought the res d'ore. Res d'ore are literally translated, it means the pasta makers, the golden makers, because the pasta dough in Italy is very yellow. Res d'ore are the heart and soul of the Italian families. They're the grandmothers, they're their aunts, they're your next door neighbor who make tortellini for you. And we thought they would be the best people to ask, can you help us in this endeavor? Most importantly, they know the recipe not by heart, but by their hands, because making tortellini is a series of gestures. And actually, it's quite hard to make a tortellini, but really, it comes down to practicing. Lots and lots and lots of practice. So we began. We began with a small group of kids, put them around a table. Everyone had a certain station of one part of the process. And intuitively, at the end of the 2-hour session, they had made some tortellini. And even though it was a small amount, we divided it up among the kids. And everyone brought home a handful of tortellini. The amazing thing is this changed everything. As the weeks went on, the tortellini sessions gained momentum. More kids wanted to make more tortellini. They wanted to make them better and faster, because they knew at the end of that 2-hour session, they were going to be bringing something home. The fact that what they had made became an identity for them. They became the protagonist in their own home. They were bringing home dinner that night. So for the families, the project Tortellante began a way of seeing their children in a different light. Families began seeing their children with a future. For the Res d'Ore, it was a chance to finally pass on what they knew to someone who was not only interested, but looking for an identity, for a skill, for a future. Most teenage boys are not interested in learning how to make tortellini, especially from their grandmothers. But these kids were not only interested, they were good at it. As they made better and better tortellini, they also understood what it meant to share something with others. So it was clear that this Tortellante after-school project had a lot more power and impact than we could have ever imagined. Parents were seeing their kids in a new light. The teens were seeing themselves as being part of a group, having a name. They were proud to walk around with their hats, their aprons, to be tortellante. So what if we opened a tortellante pasta lab and a shop and sold this to the public? Could that be a future? Could that be the bridge between school and life? So we began envisioning tortellante as a way of empowering these young, special needs adults to have a future as independent as possible, and a future where they could make a positive contribution to society. So I'm very happy to say that in November, we'll be opening up our tortellante shop, and I don't know what's going to happen to it. It's a needle in a haystack. Hopefully to be a business, a future. It'll go on for many, many years. Our sons will grow up and become the pasta teachers themselves. What I do know is that there are already more orders for tortellini than tortellante will ever be able to fill. Project number 2. Once again, kind of unexpectedly, we stumbled on something when we left our kitchen, when we got out of our comfort zone, as Virgilio talks about. It was never in our master plan to open up a series of community kitchens. But I'll let Cristina Rainey and Massimo Bottura in a short video tell you about Food for Soul.
Food for Soul is a non-profit organization founded by Chef Massimo Bottura and Lara Gilmore. Food for Soul works together with communities so they can fight against food waste through social inclusion. We believe that we're not a charity, we're a cultural project because we want to change the mindset of people, not only regarding food waste and what food waste is. We can use that resource to transform it. And how do we do that? It's to connecting different dots. So one of these dots is chefs. We invite chefs to collaborate in our projects, to come one day and cook together with the staff, with our staff in different projects, in order to create new recipes, new ways of addressing these ingredients, of seeing them.
I think the most important message of this project is involving the chef, their creativity, their time, and their knowledge. Because fighting waste, you need experience, you need people, chefs. They're like taking these ordinary ingredients and create extraordinary meals.
We go and speak with designers and architects and artists that transform the spaces to be functional but also beautiful. And we don't think this is something shallow, but through all our projects we have experienced how this can have a big impact in people's life and the value that they see that the society are given to them.
A warm and comfortable place for the homeless and good design is incredibly smart and one that we were definitely keen to be involved with. First and foremost, we wanted to make a place where people would feel comfortable and cared for.
Volunteers serve at the table. We believe that the value of the hospitality can change also the way we relate to the others, and a lot of that is with people in need. So instead of having a wall or a glass and serving someone through that, we go to the tables, volunteers serve at the tables and say to someone, "Hi, how was your day?" And even recognize it by name. The fact of being recognized and having human contact through hospitality comes a lot from the idea of Osteria Francescana, which Massimo and Lara founded more than 20 years ago.
Allora questo luogo deve diventare un luogo di cultura. L'accoglienza si fa cultura. E la cultura dove al primo posto ci sta l'attenzione al povero, al primo posto ci sta l'inclusione sociale del povero.
Do we need another soup kitchen? No. But we need a space that changes the perspective of the whole area where it is located, through his incredible positive message of inclusion. In a world in which they build walls, we break walls and we say, welcome, come here. So that's how we rebuild the dignity of the people.
Okay, I have a lot more to say, so we got to get on. Okay, so yeah, we started this amazing project. It started with Expo 2015. The theme was Feed the Planet, and we came together with an idea. We had no idea what we were doing, but this was our call. This was our answer to Feed the Planet. We opened in an abandoned theater in a neglected neighborhood of Milan, a community kitchen, and we named it Refettorio Ambrosiano. The picture you see is from the Refettorio Ambrosiano. So like I said, to be perfectly honest, Milan was an experiment. We had never cooked in a soup kitchen. We had never created meals from surplus ingredients coming from supermarkets, coming from Expo. We had no idea what to expect. We were completely out of our comfort zone. All we could do was apply 20 years of Osteria Francescana, what we knew about hospitality, what we intuitively knew about the power of beauty, and also what it means to sit down and share a meal. What did Massimo do? He called on his friends. Some of you are in this room. He called on his friends, each to prepare a 3-course meal, with the food surplus coming from Expo. A team of volunteers would serve at the table to the food insecure and homeless guests. The chefs made soups and meatballs and ice creams and desserts from the ingredients coming from the unloaded from the truck and from what was in the refrigerator. They applied their culinary skills to transform subordinary or ordinary ingredients into delicious meals. But what each chef really brought to this project was a positive attitude, an open mind, a desire to cook the best meal possible with the ingredients they had available. And I have to say thank you to everyone who participated, because without the energy of the chefs, this project would not be possible. At the end of 6 months of Expo, we learned something kind of unexpected. We learned that the Refettorio Ambrosiano didn't need us anymore. The kitchen staff had accumulated recipes from over 65 chefs. They knew exactly what to do with the wilted vegetables, the brown bananas, the expired dairy, the stale bread. The neighborhood volunteers who had gone from 1 year earlier protesting against opening the doors to have a soup kitchen in their neighborhood. They were the ones who were opening the doors every morning and closing them in the evenings. They were the ones who were opening for extra hours, for children, for the elderly. And after 6 months, we realized that it wasn't our project anymore. It belonged to that neighborhood. It belonged to the neighborhood of Greco, the people who live there, who work there, and were proud to have this community kitchen in their space. We knew that we could continue working day after day, with or without us. And so in looking for solutions to fight food waste, we came along a way to have a greater impact in a small community, but with a resounding voice. We understood that a good meal in a beautiful space, in a welcoming environment, can actually change a community. And what if more places like this were accessible to more people? In April 2016, we founded Food for Soul to empower communities to fight against food waste and social isolation. So since then, we've opened up several of these community kitchens. The first one is in Milan. Then we had one in Bologna, Modena, London, and most recently Paris. They're all open, welcoming guests daily, and they're all there welcoming the community. But we asked ourselves, how could we also engage the larger public in the fight against food waste, even at home? And the answer was before our eyes. The chefs who came to visit us had not only cooked for our guests and for our volunteers, but they had written down the recipes, taken the time and the energy to write down recipes that they had invented there on the spot. We collected the recipes and put them in a book called Bread is Gold. The good thing about Bread is Gold is you don't have to be a professional cook to cook these recipes. They can be cooked by anyone at home with the ingredients you have. Actually, we suggest you open up your refrigerator and see what's in there, lurking in the dark corner. Read the recipe. It's a recipe book, but it's an idea book. The idea that there are so many possibilities to make a delicious meal at home with what you already have. This is the anti-farm-to-table cooking. This is looking for things that are unexpected and putting them together. It requires energy, a little bit more time, a little bit more creativity. But we found that cooking with ingredients that may have been thrown away, or don't look so good, or are just pretty ordinary, can actually be quite stimulating for a chef. Bread is Gold is full of all kinds of solutions. Leftover meat, some eggs that have been sitting there in the refrigerator, there are gazpacho recipes, there's bread puddings, ice cream, and every single recipe is a little bit different than the traditional, the authentic one. It's got something added to it you wouldn't expect. Some examples. So, poached eggs. Poached eggs were often on the menu, and they came in all different shapes and sizes. And we had Mauro Colagreco, who made poached egg in this beautiful potato nest. He was serving a group of young students, and they were amazed that an egg could become something so beautiful. Christina Bowerman served a poached egg with a carrot soup and millet on the side. Andoni served poached eggs over migas. And Luca Fantine served poached eggs with pasta, speck, broccoli, potatoes. I think there were some other ingredients in there. Completely unexpected dish. Gazpachos were seasonal. Daniel Hum made one with strawberries. It was the late spring, and the strawberries were almost out of season. John Walker made his samorea. Matias Perdomo made one in the late August, early September with watermelon. And Mark Moriarty used roasted vegetables for his version of gazpacho. Every single meatball, poached egg, bread pudding is unique, not unlike the tortellini made by the special needs teens. And who knows, maybe those teens will be the ones that save the Modenese pasta tradition from extinction. And maybe these seemingly random recipes will become new traditions. When we stepped out of our kitchens and into our communities and connected with them, with the Res D'Ora, with special needs adults, with those most in need, we learned that anyone can be a voice for change. And what we, all of us in this room, all of us in hospitality, what we do matters. We cook, we welcome, we share, we restore, we care, we do. And actually, just by doing, by taking action, maybe we can make the world a little bit of a better place, or at least a more delicious one. I really think that if we're here now, we are part of the opportunity for a better future. Because the future is right here, today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I went over.
Thank you so much, Lara. And thank you to all our speakers. Now is the time to prepare your questions, regather them for, we're going to have an open discussion in a few minutes, and we'd love you guys to be involved, so prepare them. We'll have some microphones running around in a moment or two. Before we have that discussion, however, we're going to show you another short film, courtesy of our 50 Best Talks presenting partner, Miele, which looks at the beauty of diversity in ingredient form. Here you go.
Look closely and appreciate the richness hidden in even the tiniest of things. Rice is cooked into a variety of dishes across different culinary cultures, feeding over 3 billion people around the world. It is versatile, offering boundless tastes, textures, and possibilities. Be it as a satiating meal for an empty stomach, or a comforting dessert to soothe the soul. It is there at the family dinner, as well as the tables of the world's best restaurants. Exquisite when paired with the finest ingredients, presented as artful masterpieces, and just as beautiful as a simple yet perfect home-cooked dish. Feeding, nourishing, and delighting people since the dawn of agriculture, and reminding us, even today, of the beauty of diversity.
Thank you. Now, we have about 30 minutes left, so I'm going to ask some questions of the panel, and we're going to throw the questions open to the floor as well. So as I say, please be ready with some questions, but I'll kick off here with our chefs and restaurateurs on here. I'm going to start by asking, I think 3 out of the 6 of you moved to a new country in order to start the restaurants that you that have created your reputation, if you like, where you've. Is that important? I'm going to ask Dominique first. Is that an important part of what has made you who you are? The fact that you've traveled to a different country to create a new restaurant in this country, indeed.
What's the question? I heard it. I don't know. I mean, who I am. I'm still trying to find myself. It's not because I traveled the world. I think who I am is, first of all, probably it started with the way that I grew up with my parents and how they taught me about life and about people and about diversity. You know, it's our world is it's just one world, you know, so it doesn't matter really where you are. I think you have to develop yourself as a good human first, and then you have ideas. I don't have as many ideas than you, but you have ideas, and then you go to a place, and then you embrace the surrounding where you are, and then from that, then you can create. I think traveling is important too, but it's not just about traveling and get ideas about food. It's about traveling and understand other culture and other things that you don't know. I think that what makes me who I am today is probably my curiosity and be interested in things that I don't know. And believe me, there's so many things that I don't know yet, and I'm excited to continue my journey of being inspired. So.
And Gaggan, did it give you a new freedom and a new perspective to move from India to Thailand, and in the future to move to Japan even?
I think I took wrong decisions and made them right, and I like doing that. I think once I moved from India, I mean, when I used to do things that were not so-called accepted in my country, I had to move out and come back, and that is kind of a fad in Asia. Even everything that we wear is made in China, we like to buy it in New York. That's the reality, and that's the thing, how people perceive things as. So yes, Bangkok was an easy place, well-connected, kind of a New York of East. Everything is in a hub. And I thought that was the easiest place to take a risk. And then I think now my life is quite settled, quite busy, and quite easy in a way. So I want to move and take a new challenge. And I think I don't want to live in a big city anymore, because I think I get suffocated. So I like to stay in the mountains and enjoy a better life.
Well, I learned everything I know now about food once I moved to Italy. So I've been there 25 years, half my life. And, I grew up in a great family in America. We had a garden, we cooked, there was passion about food, but I still think there's a long way to go here in this country. Putting food at the center of the table, the center of the family, giving attention to that, value to the meal, that a meal, sitting together with your phones put away, television off, people actually talking to each other. And actually cooking something, however simple it may be, a poached egg, is still one of the most revolutionary things you can do. Sit down with your family and break bread. And yeah, I learned that in Italy.
And Virgilio, you're obviously based in your own country, Peru, but you have restaurants in London and you're opening a restaurant in Hong Kong. Do you when you move to Hong Kong, will you take Asian ingredients and bring the Peruvian flavor to that, or will you take Peruvian dishes and export them to Hong Kong?
You know, in the past 20 years, it's been happening something crazy in Lima that everybody's coming, like lots of people is coming to Lima to have like an experience of 4 or 3 days of just eating, and people is coming from all over the world. As I said, like we sometimes we cook for 40 nationalities per week, which is like, I mean, like never happened before. And now we are getting influences from everywhere, as we do have influences from Latin America. Peru has been a melting pot all the time. Like we have influences from China, from Spain, Italy, China, Japan again. What I see in the future of my cuisine, because now I'm so focused on this about being local because of the huge biodiversity that we have. But now I'm reconsidering about like the much we know about Peru and its biodiversity. We get to see how close and connected we are connected to Asia and countries that we've never thought we were connected to.
Thank you. And Daniela and Enrique, I might even stray into a bit of politics here. Does the climate in the US or the political leadership in the US, how do you feel about how you need to perhaps combat that in terms of promoting Mexican food and as using food as a means of crossing frontiers, or being more inclusive, shall we say?
Well, I've lived a little bit of everywhere, but I spent some time in the South, Texas and Louisiana, and like actually traveling teaches you that you don't know absolutely anything. And when we moved to New York, we tried to use the same ingredients similar to what we had in Mexico, and we realized that we were not happy. And once we started using the ingredients that the farmers were growing for us, absolutely, like the pasote from Mexico is completely different from what grows in the US, but you can tweak it a little bit. The seafood on the East is amazing, no? So just learning what you have around you, I think that's the best way to go, no? Breaking down frontiers.
And Enrique, as a Mexican working in both Mexico and in the US, do you feel that food has a great role to play in bringing those countries together?
Well, obviously the proximity between Mexico and the US, I think it's something that we use to our advantage. For example, guacamole is more American than Mexican, actually. It's not something that you eat normally at home. No, it's something that maybe you reserve for a soccer game. So there's many connections that you can make between Mexican food and American food, and I think that is one of the reasons that Cosme has been successful, is because we were able to connect with the locals. No, it's not a restaurant that is meant for tourists or a restaurant that we want people to go in a special occasion, but we want people to crave our food. And those cravings, I think, are cultural. Like I said in the talk, in Mexico, we're used to migration in food, and we understand that migration makes the food better. So to us, working in New York has made our food better because we're able to work with different ingredients. Now we're making tamales with rhubarb instead of making tamales with beans, and we're making tlayudas with all kinds of crazy weeds that we never find in Mexico. So to us, it has been a learning experience, and so I think it's always giving back. No, food is always giving back.
Mm-hmm. Dominique talked about a more humane future and how we look after your businesses and how people can look at the people working in their business. Do you see that do you feel that the restaurant sector and the hospitality sector still has a long way to go in creating that more humane and diverse and inclusive future? Lara?
Question to me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we have a really long way to go. But restaurants we have also this voice right now. People are paying attention, listening, going to restaurants, following the examples of chefs, the sommeliers, the hospitality staff. I think that we all have an opportunity to share important messages about change, how we take care of the people who work for us, how we take care of our guests, how we connect with our communities, wherever our restaurants may be, what we do when we're outside of our kitchens, and there's a great opportunity there because people are watching the 50 best list, and they are on Instagram and social media, and food is becoming more important to all of us. So I suggest everyone get in there and just do something. It doesn't take much, really.
And Virgilio, in your restaurant Miele, which you touched on in your presentation, it's very much a community project. How and why did you embrace the community in order to create that restaurant?
Yeah, well, it was something totally new for us because we had to work in a different way. We had to work with local communities and Indian communities, and actually the way they think and they believe and they grow food, and it's totally different. So at one point we were quite like quite not invited to be there. So we had to go through a period of maybe 2 years to have a good relationship, to become like friends, to be part of the community. And after that, we could go on with the project, where we had 2 anthropologists working there, just making sure that whatever we were doing was okay with their beliefs, and we were doing the right thing. So what we do now is an interpretation of what is happening there in the Andes.
Mm-hmm. And Daniela, your happy kitchen is obviously led by your happy personality, but what practical steps do you take that are slightly different in terms of how the culture and how you run the kitchen on a day-to-day basis that creates a more inclusive feel, or hopefully a more, a great spirit within your team?
We're so different. Sometimes we scare cooks away. We started hiring people without experience. If they're nice, they're cool. We have musicians, supermodels, actresses, and just people that actually love food and appreciate, and they get so excited the first time that they eat something, and then we just train them. We have a rotation kitchen, so everybody knows how to do everybody's job, pretty much. They train every month into different stations. It's hard. We have a station that is a sashimi station with 8 different kind of fish that we slice a la minute for 300 people, 1 cook. It's very intense. It's a lot of energy that we ask for our cooks, but we keep them happy. We have a good playlist. We listen to good music. We make sure that they're always learning. We take them out to different restaurants. They travel a lot sometimes with us, and it's hard. It's really hard. It's not always like we don't do anything, in the kitchen. But as long as you hire genuine people, it works. It always works. I think cooking you can learn really fast, but sometimes being nice is a different subject.
If you want to ask a question, please raise your hand and then hold it up as long as possible so that we can see you. If anyone's going to kick us off.
Hi. My question is for Lara. You spoke about enabling communities, to fend for themselves with the Refectorio project. So within the culinary industry, what can we do to enable each other to succeed instead of being competitive?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, something that I do think about in this home of 50 Best is where does the word competition come in to the culinary world and the restaurant world? And I think that we're all asking that. None of us began our careers as restaurateurs or as chefs or sommeliers or gardeners wanting to win awards. That's not why you write a beautiful song, to win an award. That's not why you come up with a delicious dish. So on one hand, you have to ask yourself, in a competitive environment, which we're in today, and we can work towards shifting that, but that's the environment we're in today, I think it's really about building strong relationships, trying to break down those walls, trying to also engage chefs in all kinds of projects outside their kitchens, visiting each other, sharing ideas, seeing if we can come together, do a project together. Sometimes it's just a dinner, before we were talking about with Dominique, let's do this project together and cook here in San Francisco, and maybe it'll be a little charity dinner. Maybe it'll just be one night. But one night sometimes is enough, as the night that Daniela and Enrique came and cooked at the Refectorio together with a crazy bunch of chefs and didn't know what the ingredients were. But that one night remains. It means something. Like I said before, what we do matters. Small, big, how many they are together. And I think that building communities is really about doing things together, not being afraid, not saying I don't know it all, don't know everything, I don't know where it's going to go, but let's take a chance.
I have one more question. This is for Enrique. What happened to Mesa America?
What happened to Mesoamerica? It was a lot of work. No, actually, I think having a conference in Mexico was very rewarding. I think the objective, which was to bring people to Mexico and know the culture firsthand, because a lot of us go and talk in conferences, but there's never equal to going to the country and exploring by yourself those flavors. So I think that objective was already met. We have kept doing smaller versions, not with the name Mesoamerica, but last year we had a conference in Xochimilco, which is a project that is dear to us. We've been very involved in soil health in Xochimilco and with a lot of our producers. So we're working to close the cycle and giving back all the organic matter. So we go and pick up the vegetables in the morning and we bring all of our soil. So those things are taking our time now. We're not necessarily focused on I think there's a lot of amazing conferences in the world. So we want to go to those conferences, and we've taken more intimate role in changing our community from within and not necessarily through a conference.
Now, we have some questions through the power of social media here, but some of our social media, people that have followed us on social media and followed the chefs are here with us as well. So I'm going to see if anyone's here who's sent in a question. So I have a question from Niels CS. If you're here, raise your hand. There you go. And can you remember your question? We'll put the microphone. You can ask it live rather than in a very old-fashioned way. Actually, ask the question. Raise your hand again so the microphone can get to you. It's just coming. And let us know who you're directing it to.
Okay.
Or if you want, I can help you because I've got it in front of me.
Yeah, that'd be great. Oh,
Okay.
Actually, so this is to the panel. I don't know if you want to direct it to one of the stage, but right now I'm kind of working with a couple Oceanwise programs, and my question is, So as our oceans and Earth are facing devastating destruction, losses, and pollution, how can we as chef and industry come together to raise more awareness in sustainability and environmental issues? What steps are your restaurants currently taking that can set an example for other restaurants, suppliers, and customers?
It's a big question. Dominique?
Here we go. Well, this is a great question. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know the talk, 50 talk is happening now, but there is climate change right now in San Francisco too. It's a very powerful question, because it's great to open restaurant, to cook with the farmers. There's a lot of noise out there. What's going on? But we have to understand what's going on in the world. We have to understand what's going on with the planet. We have to understand what's going on with the ocean. If we don't take care of this, we're not going to have anything in the next years or so to come, and it will be not anymore any best restaurant in the world. So how do we do this? First of all, we have to, I think chefs have a lot of powers. Food is the core of the society, and if every chef in the world, I mean, I don't know how many restaurants there is in the world. Do you know?
How many restaurants in the world?
I think everybody's cooking, not just restaurant, but just at home. And if everyone make an effort to understand, how they do with food, with the waste, what they're using, where the food come from, understanding the surrounding, understanding that maybe it's better to maybe support your farmers, support your fishmonger instead of supporting the industrialization of food, to understand what's going on in the ocean, the pollution, to understand what's going on with climate change, to understand that perhaps we don't need to eat a hamburger every single second, to understand maybe that we need to rebalance the way that we doing food, to understand that community that are there maybe to support them, to understand, to go back to what the basic is important. So what do you do in your restaurant and what we're doing in our restaurant? So we are part of the Zero Footprint program. We have created program for non-waste. We also have a farm that we just opened in January, and we try to educate everyone on the team to hopefully when we do things, they can bring that to their own home. But everyone can do a little bit to change the way that we're living today, because it's not about today. Because if we don't do anything today, what's going to happen for the next generation? Everybody has a kid. I don't know if everybody has a kid, but what's going to happen with the children to come? We have to set and we have to change now. So if you have $10 in your hand, what are you going to do with this $10? Are you going to spend it because it's an instant gratification and you don't want to spend the time to understand where that $10 is going to go? Or you're going to understand it and give it to someone that perhaps a farmers or someone that doing things right for us, for the planet in general. So I think it's not just about chef doing, the work. I think everyone has to do the work. Otherwise, we are in big trouble. I don't know how the planet's going to be, and the population, I think, is going to, in 2050, how many people we're going to have more on the planet? 40, 50? A lot more?
I think, it's also about just, it comes down to whether you're in your kitchen or not, a chef, asking questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions all the time. Be curious. Teach your children to be curious. Teach your neighbors to be curious. Where did that come from? What part of the world did this fish come from, and who fished it? And if you start asking questions, the more questions you ask, the more you start sort of wondering if that's something that you should be eating or buying or supporting. If we're not curious about what we're putting in our bodies, we're never going to get there to figure out how to solve much bigger problems. So I would start with asking questions and teaching the people around us to be much more curious, not just take it as a given that is something good.
And you have to understand that the pollution comes from human. We have created that mess, you know, especially with the ocean. You know, what is the ocean is plastic and is all those trash in the ocean. We are responsible to fix the planet right now. So it comes within you, and you are the change. Nobody else going to change except you.
Yeah, there was this really great initiative, so small, so focused in the Italian Riviera, in one town, kind of a party town called Riccione. They decided to just abolish all plastic straws. So none of the little cocktails or drinks or anything came with plastic straws. But just abolishing for the season, the summer season, plastic straws had a huge impact. It means that so much plastic wasn't being thrown away, wasn't being bought, wasn't being carted somewhere, and it wasn't ending up in the ocean. So oftentimes I think it's the really small things we do, not the big ones, that can make a difference.
Yeah.
Now it's the time to raise your hand as well, and I'll come to you in a moment. In the meantime, keep your hand raised if you got it. In the meantime, I'm going to ask a question about cultural and ethnic diversity. So, is the gastronomic world still too Eurocentric, Gaggan?
Why me? I thought I was expecting an easier question. I think, yes, it's a fact. It's a thing that we chefs in Asia suffer a lot to represent our own ethnicity, our color, our culture, and our food. And we can't beat a pasta, I'm sorry. But we can't. This is reality. If you ask a restaurant investor, he would be more confident in spending money in a Western cuisine than Asian cuisine in Asia. But things have changed. And the change is very fast and very big. Because the problem that we suffer in Asia is, like, his question is very valid in America, but in my restaurant, if I put plastic cans, glass, paper, food separately in a garbage, the garbage can will mix it together and put it back in together. What do I do there? Who do I educate? So these are the sufferings of Asia. And in Asia, just to educate that you have to pay $200 meal for an Asian restaurant or a local cuisine over a French or European or any other cuisine is such a big challenge in Asia. But we are winning this game. We are winning. And that's why today most of the Asian restaurants in Asia, which are very successful, are not from the local. I'm not a Thai. Paul Perret is not a Chinese. Zayu, thankfully, is Japanese. But yeah, Julian from Singapore, he's French. But we are doing as much we can, and as much we can promote Asia how we can individually. And that's the beauty of having 50 Best, because who knew us 7 years back? You didn't know me. Today you know me because of chef tables, yes. We all are part of chef tables. Yeah, we have a community, but who knew us before this? Who knew there's a restaurant in Philippines called Toyo? Nobody knew that. But today, we might go to Manila and try a restaurant and do Toyo, and which is not in the list, but would be in the list. And that is the biggest opportunity we have here.
Yeah, I totally agree. Get out there, eat something you don't know. Be scared, be a little bit frightened, be like, what is that? Get out there, eat it. You know, you just might be the most amazing discovery you've ever had.
Out of your comfort zone. Enrique, from a Latin perspective, are we still too Eurocentric as well? Briefly.
No, I think things have changed already, fortunately. So I do see a drift. I don't think that, I think people are aware that food from everywhere deserves the same value. Of course, there's still some paradigms that can be broken, but in general, I think that we're all playing on the same level.
One final question from the floor, was that?
Yeah, my question kind of is a piggyback, actually, in what we were just talking about. So if you look at basically all of the 100 in the world's 50 best, there's kind of a type. And it tends to be a restaurant with a very expensive tasting menu. And so my question kind of to you, Mr. Drew, and to the entire panel, why is this necessarily the world's 50 best when the majority of the world has no chance of ever going to these restaurants? and it tends to be more a checklist sort of for the jet setters. How can we sort of change this? How can we make it not just the world's 50 best tasting menus? Or should we not change that?
Yeah, I think
we have an a la carte menu.
Yeah, the number one restaurant in the world has an a la carte menu available.
You can just order a bowl of tortellini.
I think it is changing.
We do have tortellini on the menu.
Yeah. My view is that it's changing, and that there's not so much of it. There are not so many that are automatically a long tasting menu. There's nothing wrong with a long tasting menu. It's just not as universal as perhaps it was a few years ago. But also, I mean, the clue's in the name. It's the world's 50 best restaurants. These are the best of the best in the whole world by the criteria that we put out there from 1,000 voters around the world. So they're unlikely, just by their very nature, to be super cheap. So yes, they are difficult to access. In many ways, they're difficult to get a reservation.
Don't you think things are changing? I mean, talk about like Cosmates number 25. It's a great restaurant, a delicious restaurant. It's not really a fine dining restaurant. The music's loud. It's dark in there. You can go in and have a cocktail. You can have a small little taco at the bar. You can have a tasting menu if you want one. You can order 2 dishes. So things are changing, and I think that our industry will be changing, and that sort of model that we all have to, there isn't one model anymore that everyone has to follow. Sit down and have the tasting menu. A lot of people want to shake it up, and I think that's really important. Everyone finds who they are, what their identity is. Massimo and I started almost 25 years ago, so maybe we're a little bit too old to change, but there's a whole generation out there, and they are changing the game, and they're changing the way we think about food, the way we think about cultures, the way we think about exploring our palates, and I think there's a bright future. We got to shake it up.
My answer is I agree with Lara. We're kind of out of time, so I'm going to just say a few words to wrap up. Thank you so much, everybody, for your questions, and thank you, of course, to our panel. It's been, I hope, a very stimulating afternoon for all of you. We have an evening ahead, so don't forget to come join us at Angler. As I said earlier, there's going to be a bus outside. I personally feel I've taken a huge amount out of today. I sincerely hope that you all have too. We've looked at what we can learn from the way people eat in Asia, getting out of our comfort zone in the Andes and the Amazon, how to run a kitchen in a non-traditional way, and to break the rules and to create your own change, to be the masters and mistresses of your own destiny, and to look at a more humane approach to the future and a more ethical future through food, and seeing amazing examples of food being utilized as a force for change.
And eat more tortellini. Let's go.
And obviously, more tortellini. Thank you. Thank you for all your support. Thank you to our partners, and you'll be sampling some of their food and drinks at Angler. Thank you for joining us, everybody here, and all those who've joined us through live stream. And finally, a huge thank you to our panel of speakers. On behalf of 50 Best, this concludes the edition of 50 Best Talks presented by Miele. Thank you.
I'm so excited.